views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Reclaim your power and learn to live your most amazing life with Mike Murphy Unfiltered Radio. Unfettered, unflinching, unafraid. Tune in every Thursday from noon to 2 Pacific Time on TransformationTalkRadio.com as Mike explores authentic and relevant truth and powerful conversations with some of the world's most renowned game changers. This hit show taps the dynamic principles of the creation frequency to unleash unlimited infinite potential and guide you to manifesting the highest possibilities of your heart. Level up your life and rewire your programming. Think new thoughts and create true freedom. Let's expand energy, build true health and explosive frequency consciousness together. Powerful people, powerful conversations, powerful listeners. Infinite possibilities, fostering peace and joy with an unfiltered heart. Now, here's Mike Murphy, Unfiltered.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mike Murphy Unfiltered Show. And we're really excited about this next guest. The first hour was super good with Lynn Robinson, a powerful woman. But the next guest, Byron Katie Mitchell, is, in my humble opinion, the most powerful spiritual teacher in the world today. Her work, which is called The Work, is a powerful yet simple process that gives you a powerful tool to reverse any problem in your life that is causing you to experience suffering. By filling out a simple worksheet, asking 4 simple questions, and then a unique strategy that she created for reversing the troubling thought that causes the suffering, you can find and then experience the peace that passes all understanding. An amazing author, teacher, workshop leader, Katie has helped millions of people since the 1980s to eliminate suffering and find peace through what she calls self-inquiry. And one thing Katie doesn't know that I want to share with everybody right now is in San Francisco, there's this amazing guy, big, strong Swedish guy, 6'6", 5% body fat, physical therapist, works with the professional hockey team, the San Jose Sharks, throws them around like rag dolls. You know what he does every hour on his commute to work, and then every hour on his commute home? He listens to the work of Byron Katie. Mm-hmm. And so when I saw this man at the darkest moment in my life, because I had a ruptured disc in my neck, well, he's literally beating me up physically. He's sharing this amazing spiritual message that led me to this amazing teacher and to her schools, and where I learned this process to eliminate suffering. It all just comes from thought. Katie, welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Gosh. Oh, thank you. I feel very welcome. Boy, what an intro. Thank you, Mike.
You look beautiful. And let me tell you this as well, because I'm going to try not to talk because I want you to do most of the talking. But one thing is that you're so powerful in the way that you work and in the way you live your life. And you've helped so many people that you probably aren't even aware of. So I just want to thank you publicly for that and what you're doing in the world.
Oh, my goodness. What a privilege to be given such a gift that belongs to all of us, always free of charge. You know, it's just, I charge for events so I can keep my office up, et cetera. But the work runs free on my website, and if it's good, it belongs to all of us.
And that's what I love about you. You're the one guest I didn't need to prepare for, so I prepared 10 times more than I would for any other guest, right? Because I know your work so well. And but you know what I found? Because I really started preparing like last week at the end of that show. And so during the last week, seeing your new book, reading some of it, looking into your latest videos, so on and so forth. You know what I started to experience? Massive amounts of joy. You're like the Johnny Appleseed of spreading joy in the world. You just have that.
It's the absence of suffering, isn't it?
Yes. And I love your book. You've written great books, but my favorite is a Thousand Names for Joy, because you just come so clear in that book what the real truth is.
People do love that one.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for that.
Katie, let me ask you a question. I'm sure you hear like I do, some people have this belief system that people can't change, zebras can't change their stripes. So I want to ask you, the Byron Katie, BC, which stands for before cockroach, and, and the Byron Katie I'm looking at right now, there's a lot of change. So can you speak to people that believe the thought you can't change?
Well, before the work found me, I was a zebra. And then I'm still a zebra today. The difference between what we could call the two zebras is one had a really complicated world, and this zebra does not. So my life is not complicated. My mind is not complicated. And the uncomplicated life, a mind that is at home in itself, life is it's so clear how to live life. There's nothing that is valid. There's nothing invalid that could interfere with it.
Yeah.
And by invalid, I mean my mind is not full of assumptions and beliefs that would cause my suffering and the suffering of the people around me.
Yeah. And when I hear you speak, in my experience of doing your work, is the word for me is freedom. You agree?
Freedom. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the different one wasn't, and one is.
Exactly. So can you do a favor for our listeners and just briefly explain your process of self-inquiry and why it's so effective?
The first thing that comes to my mind, Mike, is it's effective because it aligns the mind with reality, as opposed to what we're believing about reality. And if I'm suffering, and I invite the world as well, if I'm suffering, I identify the thoughts I'm thinking and question those thoughts. And that is the release and the enlightenment, the gift we get from sitting in these 4 questions.
Yeah. And take us through that process. So you say that, all war belongs on paper, and you mentioned this earlier. Let just acknowledge this. All of Katie's work is free at her site, thework.com. And there's tons of YouTube stuff. You can do all this work without ever spending a dime. But if you really want to go to another level, I encourage you to go to her 10-day School of the Work or her 5-day No Body. And she has other classes, her New Year's Eve special. So, if you really want to immerse yourself and really grow like that, do that. But all this stuff is free. And that's what I love about her. And her new book, is about generosity, and she's just, God bless you for giving this stuff away to us. So the 4 questions, we get that one, in my case, when I went to school, my one statement was my wife died. And then I use those 4 questions and turn that around and be free of that suffering. So those 4 questions, can you go over them briefly for the listeners?
Yes. Let's say that in that situation, you had the thought, I can't be happy without her.
Right.
And I can never be happy again without her. And then the first question to question that is simply, is it true? 3 words. And now those words have no power. That question has no power until the questioner just gets very still and just meditates in the question. I can't be happy without her. Is it true? And then as you contemplate that, your answer is either yes or no, but we're not coming off the top of our heads with the answer so quickly. We're really meditating in it and going deeply into ourselves. We're exploring, is it true? And then the next question is, can I absolutely know? Can I really know that it's true? I can't be happy without her. And then the same, we contemplate that question. And then the third question, there are only 4. The third question is notice how you react. How do you react? What happens when you believe the thought? And first you begin to get in touch with your emotional and what it feels like when you believe that thought. And you might name it depression. And then you might experience and just be with those emotions and allow those emotions to just be. And you might begin to locate where the center of those emotions start, like maybe in your chest, maybe in your neck, and how far reaching, maybe from your neck to your shoulders, to your arms, when we're believing our thoughts, it's sometimes as though our whole body is affected. And then we begin to understand why the medical world wants us to relax, wants us it does everything it can to support us not to be so stressed out. And so we're seeing here, Michael, that the cause of those emotions is what we're thinking and believing in the moment. Right. So mind is cause, and emotions and life are effect. So then we look at, I can't be happy without her. How do I react when I believe the thought? Well, let's look at the cause of those emotions. We're obviously, to some of us, and some of it's not so obvious until we sit in this, but we're witnessing those images in our mind's eye of life with her and how happy we were in the past. And life without her, where we just can't live without her. We wake up, we see an image of us waking up in the morning, and she's not there. And we see an image of going to work, and she's not there at the door to say goodbye and give you the kiss or hug. And so we're seeing these things in our mind's eye. So that would be at least 3 Michaels. There would be the Michael of right here, right now, then the Michael in the images of past, witnessing the images of future. We call that the dream world, the life of the dreamer. And it's a painful world, and it can be a painful world. And so we see the cause of those emotions. So there's Michael of the past, that's one Michael. Michael of the future, that's another Michael. Then there's the Michael of the moment, there are 3 Michaels. So we wonder why we're confused. And so those imagined Michaels aren't reality. The one right here, right now, that's reality. So now we just notice this, how we react when we believe the thought, the emotional and the mind's reaction. So so then that last question, who or what in this moment would you be without the thought, I can't be happy without her? And then to just notice without those images of past, future, just notice where you are right here, right now. And then when you turn it around, I can be happy without her. So we look for opposites. I can be happy without her. And then we begin to try that on, just to try it on, like we're buying a new pair of shoes. And we want to see if they fit before we walk around in them, before we walk through our life with them. I can't be happy without her. Turned around, I can be happy without her. And so you might look back at just one moment when you weren't thinking about her and just notice there was that one moment you weren't thinking of her. Oh my. There was that one moment you weren't thinking of her, and that was a moment of grace, just a moment out of the pain. And so to get still and just acknowledge that. And then maybe you can find one more. I can be happy without her. And if you find 1, you can find 2. If you find 2, you can find 3. If you find 3, eventually you start getting your life back. And you don't really ever lose her, as you've discovered, Michael.
Right.
You know, she's with you. Every time you think of her, it's a visit. And
Right.
because you're no longer devoted to unhappiness,
Mm-hmm.
the gratitude, when she comes to your mind, it's as though we never have to lose the people we love, that
Right.
they have given us what we can carry in our lives happily for the rest of our lives, as opposed to seeing and thinking that person in your mind's eye and thinking of that person and feeling sadness.
Mm-hmm.
It's a given, a grace, a joy that that comes from understanding that we can never lose that person we loved.
Katie, I have to ask you this question. I know you've been doing this since 1986, and you've done a million of these inquiries, but you're so gifted, it's so profound, it's so brilliant as the observer, and it appears to be so simple. So I have to ask you, does this come from beyond? Is this a download? Or I know you have experience and you're gifted, but are you getting something else from somewhere, to be so effective in this work?
I am, because I've questioned these stressful thoughts, it's just so simple with my eyes open or closed to stay in reality. There's nothing wrong right here, right now, and that's not ever going to change. But what I'm thinking and believing, now that could use a little work. So what do I see? I see no problem now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the opposite of a problem is solution. I'm living in the solution. I'm living in a world that delights me because I'm not believing unkind things upon it. And if I do, then I can question those things that would cost me the joy of living out of my true nature, our true nature, the true nature of everything. I think it was Einstein that said the only question that really needs to be answered is it a friendly universe? And so I question everything that would cost me the nature of everything, this friendly universe, and I woke up to the gift.
I've watched you do self-inquiry so many times with so many people, and sometimes, they're difficult cases, difficult people, right? But you're able to remain so calm, so patient, so loving, so compassionate. Where does that come from? How do you do that?
It comes from questioning what they were believing before I met them.
So I've heard you say that the worst thing anybody can ever be found guilty of is believing a thought that's not true.
Yeah, it's the only suffering that I can find, and I'm a skeptic. I've been doing this for over 30 years now, and so far so good. If I'm the Eskimo, it's okay to put our feet in the water and question what we're believing anytime we're sad or angry.
Do you ever get triggered where you have to go to your site and print a judge or neighbor worksheet and fill it out and do the work?
I would not hesitate. I can tell you that much.
I love it. Hey, we got a listener who has a question for you.
Okay.
How do you go about the process of visioning or / imagining what that growth feels like? This critical part of the work, it has always been a blocker for me. And I'm not sure if you're clear on the question, but I'm assuming they mean, when you're going back to that moment and you start to see that situation.
I don't know if I understand the question enough to answer it, but it almost sounds like they're asking about question 4, who or what would you be without?
Well, I kind of feel like they're going, okay, so, like for that moment, where you go back into that situation, you go back in time and you see yourself, you see that, you experience that emotion again. I feel like they're kind of asking about that they have a struggle going back there and seeing and feeling again.
Oh, in that case, I would... One thing I say, Michael, is don't go back there without these 4 questions. Don't go back there to that fear and terror, those things, those horrific things that have happened to some of us. Don't go back there without those questions. I go back there for information.
Right.
So, and I can do it intentionally, or it's a given. And until I take care of it, it's going to be a given whether I like it or not. So I may as well put it on paper where I can deal with it,
right,
and question it.
Awesome.
And we have this helpline that is 100% free on thework.com, and people are there in many languages to work through these worksheets with people at no charge, and they don't ask you who you are, where you're from. Their interest is your freedom.
You hear that, folks? Go to thework.com. There's so much free help. A friend of mine called me the other day just in tears. His 29-year-old son hung himself in his New York City apartment. People are suffering, and this is why Katie does the work. She doesn't have to do this. She's compelled to do this as long as one person is still suffering in this world. And I see more and more people suffering. So share this work. This is the magic bullet to get out of suffering and get rid of those thoughts that cause that emotional turmoil. So please do it.
And I understand why I'm imagining young man would hang himself. He was believing his thoughts.
Yeah.
And no way out. And I understand that from my own experience. Suicide, I was obsessed with it. My life was so painful. And there is a way out. And that is to look at the cause of suffering that this innocent young man was not aware existed.
Yeah. And there was so many ways out, using the work, using the questions, using the turnaround. So please, folks, this is very important that we share this powerful work. Katie, I've heard you speak often about 3 types of business. Can you elaborate for us?
Yes, my business, your business, and God's business. And that would be the God of your understanding for those of you that aren't religious. You could use the word reality, whatever you think is running this universe. So my business, your business, and God's business. And so if any of you listeners are feeling lonely, for example, just ask yourself mentally, whose business are you in? Now, if my daughter is in Wisconsin and I'm here in California and I'm mentally thinking about her and how are my grandchildren happy and what is she doing and all of that, and I feel lonely at all, I notice those emotions and just come back to my own life. So, and here I am, present, dealing with what I can deal with. And so again, if you're ever lonely, just ask yourself mentally, whose business are you in? We think it's kind to be in other people's business, and there's no right or wrong to it. It's just, if we're suffering, come home to where you're safe right here, right now. And what you found that was disturbing belongs on paper where you can see it, it's stable, and you can question it.
Yeah, I find staying in my own business makes life a lot easier.
Oh my gosh. Fabulous. And have you noticed, Michael, that not a lot of people need us?
Exactly right. They don't miss us at all.
It's like, I need to be in everyone's business. They need me. Not likely.
Yeah, or you're driving down the freeway 100 miles an hour angry at someone, and you're not even in their universe.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's like a war with the self.
Exactly.
In their name.
So, and today I hear a lot of talk about victims. Everybody's a victim of some sort. And so my philosophy is that we're either all victims or none of us are victims. So pick your poison, right? So how do you see victimhood? What's your philosophy around that?
It's a way of it's the ego's way of keeping you in the past.
Yeah.
And it's pretty painful. It's pretty painful. Let's say I was married to someone that insulted me and or said something that really hurt my feelings. Now that person can't hurt my feelings unless there's something in me that's believing about me, what he's pointing to. And so I could do the work on him. It'll wake me up to the behavior, any behavior I'm experiencing. And then I end up extremely grateful for my partner who brought me that freedom. I would call him my push. Anyone that would hurt me or talk poorly about me, any of that, anything that would bother me, I would do a worksheet on that person. I would judge that person, and then notice that because of that person, I sat down with a worksheet that set me free.
Right.
So there are no enemies in my world. They're just teachers.
Yeah.
Generous teachers.
Yeah.
They kick you when you're down.
Amen. Amen. But there's always a silver lining, right?
Well, I need the kick.
There you go.
They're my push.
So, Katie, I'm always like, I talk about you a lot because I just love your work. And so I call them Katieisms, right? So, but I've told maybe a few hundred people this one story that I heard you tell, and no one believes it except me and probably you. But I want to share it with you and then get your reaction, because I heard you say on stage that if my husband came home and said, I'm leaving you, I met another woman, your response would be, oh, honey, I'm so happy for you. She must be amazing that you're leaving me for her. I can't wait to meet her. Would you like me to do the paperwork, or would you? Katie, every woman that hears that says, no way. What do you say?
Well, I just woke up to the fact that people are not property. I can't own them. Even a piece of paper doesn't give me ownership of another human being. And I am with, for example, I'm with my husband, Stephen, because I love him, not for what he can give me, not for what he can do for me. Those things are beautiful and just not required. And people ask me, would I ever divorce? And my answer would be, sure, if we just stopped having things in common, but it wouldn't stop me from loving him.
Right.
And getting back to that scenario, yes, if he found someone that could make him happier than I can make him, I'm going to support him. Otherwise, I cannot claim to love him.
Right.
If I really love him, I want him to have the best life possible. And he doesn't give me the best life possible. This beautiful mind of mine, that gives me the best life possible. So if there's a war in my family, I started it. That's the one thing I do know.
And let me add, because we're going to take a break in just a second. But before we go, I just want to share with the audience, in your new book, A Mind at Home with Itself, you co-wrote that with Stephen, who's a great author in his own right, a great spiritual author, and a great interpreter of great spiritual teaching. So I encourage you guys to check that out as well. Some amazing books, my favorite being what he did with the Tao Te Ching. So we're going to take a quick break. When I come back, see, all spiritual teachers, if you guys are like me, you probably, when I had this amazing 10-day school with Katie, but I'm a little skeptical. So I have a friend that just loves her and says, she's the real deal. She's the real deal. I go, I agree. But I always hold back 2% until something happened between me and Katie that I can confirm to you 1,000% she is the real deal. And I want to share that story when we come back. Please stay with us.
Good.
Into the wisdom of animals, angels, and masters with Darcy Pariso on Animal Soul Wisdom Radio. Tune in monthly as Darcy brings insights on how to better understand and deepen our relationships with animals. Working with light and pureness of ancient techniques, Darcy, healer, animal communicator, and medium, is here to guide you through this process and provide inspiration to move forward. For more information about working with Darcy, visit darcypariso.com.
Are you traveling most of your day? Do you want to take Transformation Talk Radio with you anywhere you go? Well, guess what? There's an app for that. Just go to the App Store on your Apple device or the Google Play Store on your Android and search Transformation Talk Radio. Catch all of our live shows no matter where you are. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so grateful and excited to have Byron Katie with us today, one of the greatest spiritual teachers in the world today, with such a beautiful way that she delivers the message with so much love and compassion. And I'm compelled to share this story with you. So my wife passed away in June of 2011, and through circumstance, I ended up in the School of the Work in Los Angeles in October 2011, just a few months after that. And, you know, I got kicked out of the 8th grade. I kicked out 2 schools in the 9th grade, the 10th grade. I mean, I don't go to school. And here I find myself at the darkest moment of my life in school and not knowing what to expect. I had the most amazing experience. And a few days into it, I had to go to Nordstrom's and I noticed that Katie wore these beautiful scarves. So I bought like 4 scarves and then I found these really perfect spiritual cards and I couldn't sleep. So literally, you know, I'm writing her love messages in the middle of the night, and I wanted to be anonymous, so I would sign them joy because that was the biggest emotion I was feeling. And so, you know, the first day, and I drop them off at the front desk at 4 a.m. They look at me like I'm crazy. So the first day I noticed she's wearing it. The second day I send another one, another note, another scarf, and she said, I don't know who's doing this, but we're going to find you in the 3rd day and the 4th day, right? And so we go on and away we go. And then I go to our nobody thing and I do something similar, but I'm always staying anonymous. And then finally, I think she found out or something. So fast forward to just a couple years ago, I was struggling with my oldest son. I didn't know what was wrong. It was scaring me. He just wasn't himself. I'm freaking out. And I talk him into going to Katie's 10-day School of Work in Ojai. And we fly him down there, blah, blah, blah. And after the 10-day school, I get a call from the hotel. And the hotel says, man, we got to charge you extra money because they think it's me because I booked it. You know, booze bottles everywhere, vomit in the sinks. This is ridiculous, $250 charge, right? So thank God for that moment because it got me to find out what was wrong with my son. We got him in rehab. He's 2 years sober. He's lost 100 pounds. He's a new person. And the catalyst at Katie's event is she does an exercise where you have to look in someone's eyes deeply and tell them your love story. And after that, he couldn't handle it. He spent the rest of the time drinking. So imagine this. A few weeks later, I get this email from Byron Katie. Hi, Michael. Thank you for the lovely blue scarf. I love the colors and shades of blue and how it kept me warm on the way to and from our school. Also, I hope that nothing I said or did kept you from attending any of the school sessions. And if that should be the case, I would love to know what it was and make it right with you, if at all possible. Also, I want you to know that I did hear about the condition of your room as discovered by the ladies who cleaned for us. And I want you to know that I understand from my own experience, as I recall my own past, just how difficult and out of control our lives can be and why. So I'm sending much love to you and want you to know that you are invited back to complete your school tuition free anytime. Connected by heart always, Katie. So Katie thought it was me. And see, we had a bit of a relationship. And instead of judgment or condemnation or what the hell is wrong with you and what are you doing, pure freaking love, ladies and gentlemen. So this is why I encourage you to study her work, read her books, watch her YouTube videos, and hopefully go to one of her schools because 1,000% Byron Katie is the real deal. And so I'm so grateful again that you're here with us today. So I don't know if you remember any of that, but
Michael, I do, and oh my goodness, what a joy our paths are.
Yes, amen. You know, and that leads me to a good question because I know it was suffering that led you to have your breakthrough. It was suffering that led me to find you have my breakthrough. Suffering that put my son in this condition. Do human beings need to suffer to grow, evolve, and get free?
Well, anything that is not anything we're thinking and believing, anything we say or do in life that rubs up against our true nature is going to feel like guilt.
Yeah.
So when we're living against our nature, we're not guilty. We're truly innocent. We're believing our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a way out of the cause of suffering, and that is to question the thoughts. The Four Noble Truths that the Buddha speaks of, I've just recently become aware of, that the first one is there's a cause. There is suffering in the world, discontent. And the second Noble Truth is there's a cause of this suffering. And of course, the cause of suffering, as you and I understand, Michael, is what we're thinking and believing in the moment.
Right.
And then the third Noble Truth is there is a way out of this suffering. And as you and I know, there is a way out of the suffering.
Right.
And the fourth Noble Truth is here's how. And that's my short version of the fourth Noble Truth. And which is what we're so fortunate to have discovered. And it's so simple. I worked with a little 7 or 8 year old little girl, and she said, well, why didn't someone tell me it was so simple?
Out of the mouth of babes, right?
Yeah.
Because it really is simple when you understand this. You can get free of any suffering once you understand how to go about this.
Yeah.
That's and that's the beauty of your work. There's tons of spiritual teachers that will show you the concept, give you the vision, right? This is how to get there. This is the way to get to that path. And it's called the work, and it does take a little bit of work.
Well, it's self-inquiry, and anyone with an open mind can do it.
Yeah.
And an open mind really is a state of grace, because we're so convinced that what we're believing is true, that the ego has a hold on us. And I don't know any way to break the spell, but an open mind that wants to authentically question what it's believing.
And I think especially today, because, I see the world kind of falling apart in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. And that's why this work is so needed right now, because if we don't do something, if we don't learn to open our mind and find a system that will serve us and work for us, I hate to think the future of humanity and the planet, the toxicity, it can't be too good.
Well, it's the beautiful thing, Michael, is that the world is as I believe it to be. And so each of us have different worlds, and no two worlds ever meet. So if I take care of my world, if I find peace in my world, which is to identify what I'm thinking and believing about the world and question it, and you take care of your world, then there are two worlds that are kinder, clearer, wiser, compassionate, and that is how to shift the world. To shift the world around us comes out of this out of a beautiful mind being one not at war with itself.
Yes, but for those of us like you, especially, you also take massive action. I've heard you say that,
Oh, I don't hesitate.
Right. I've heard you say that you believe suffering is an illusion. So then why do you do the work you do? Because as long as one person in the world believes that they're suffering, you're compelled to try to fix that or serve them.
I don't care if pain is an illusion or not. Pain is pain, and there's a way out of that. And it costs me nothing but guilt to support another human being to end their suffering. And it might be just to offer a tissue to.
Right.
It might be, we don't know what it is, but it's as I see it, and this is my life I'm living. And if someone's in pain, what thoughts am I believing that would stop me from helping someone in the kind of pain that I've had the privilege of surviving, the grace of surviving?
And you are so sincere, so passionate. You really walk your talk. And I'm going to speculate, and then ask you, I'm assuming it comes from the deep gratitude that you have for discovering this work or this work finding you.
Oh, it is the absence of suffering. And I can't recall a moment that I haven't been grateful for that. You know pain, I know pain, and we know the difference. Oh boy, one hurts and the other doesn't.
But you worked super hard too early on. I'm sure a lot of people thought, I've heard stories of you being in someone's living room in the late 80s in Marin County with 6 people doing this work night after night after night. Yeah. So you were being compelled, driven, to really share this work. So you worked really, really hard. Looking back on it, is there anything you would do differently, or
No, I only work with one person at a time. It doesn't matter if there are 1,000 people in the audience,
right,
or one. I'm working with one at a time.
Yeah. And look for the audience, that's the beauty. You go to YouTube, you watch Katie do self-inquiry with a person. Could be on a completely different subject than what you're dealing with, but you'll see how to make it. You can do your own Judge Your Neighbor worksheet on your subject, but watching her these questions, because it's all the same, right? There's only one mind, and we all have the same thoughts and stuff, right?
Yeah, no new stressful thoughts. For example, I can't do it, or life is hard, or there's something wrong with me, or you broke your promise to me. I should be further along than I am. I want, I should, I shouldn't, you should, you shouldn't, you need, you, and it's all there on a worksheet.
Yeah.
And there are only 6 things on that worksheet, so it's not this huge, big deal that some of your listeners might imagine.
And that's the beauty of the work, guys. It's simple. I mean, it's really simple. And you can just keep doing it, and you get better and better and better. Katie, when doing the 10-day school, it felt like the exercises, you have some crazy exercises, as you probably know.
Yeah, and, they're the first 3 years of my experience. So,
yeah, but so you're walking us through your journey through these exercises, so that we can break down what needs to be broken down and gain what insight needs to be gained, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, where do you want the person to end up at the end of the 10 days doing all these exercises? What's the desired outcome as you view it?
To understand the cause of suffering and how to deal with it. That's all. That's it. Yeah. By the end of 10 days, they know the questions, they know how to find the problem, and that it's right there with them. And they know how to question what they're believing about themselves, the world, and other people.
And you have us do something else that's rather unique that keeps it going, and that's we pick a buddy, and for the next 3, 4, 5 months, I don't remember now, and we would change once a month, but we would do the work with someone that was in the school with us by telephone once a week, so we could really keep practicing, still stay focused, and really get this right, ingrain it in.
Yes, it's our aftercare program, and it really is a lifetime thing. It's always free, and people, it's just supplying a place for people to, like I would facilitate you, and then you would facilitate me, and then we'd maybe meet again the rest of the month before we switch partners. And it's really brilliant, and it's not required. Nothing's required at the school or the aftercare. It's I just offer a place, a space where people can sit in the practice.
Yeah, and you'll love this. So one of my partners, a young woman who is probably 20 years younger than me, we're still good friends. We still talk all the time.
Oh,
in fact,
my gosh, yes.
So you bring community together in really is powerful way. And I'll tell you another thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you really want to help people, Katie has this unbelievable certification program that you can go through. And it's not like some of these other ones. She's not just trying to get your money. It is so hard, so in-depth, so deep that you will be an expert like she is at doing self-inquiry with people and helping people to change their thoughts around. Yeah. You want to elaborate on your training program?
I founded it as a way of supporting people that want to stay in the daily practice. And the School for the Work, if they want to continue the practice after that, then they can get into the certification program. And but the point isn't certification. They can come out with that if that's what they want. But the point is to support that daily practice. So there are, as you know, really powerful classrooms in there, and the money goes to the facilitators, that the trainers that are actually giving the practice, and the dues. It's a member-run institution, so it's $200 a year, and that's about it. And it's it's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah, $200 a year, and it's like going to the greatest college in the universe that you pay $100,000 a year. What you really get, real life stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, well, it's enough to support it, and we do well.
And it's very powerful, and very great teachers, and the community is awesome. So if you really want to grow and evolve and get really good at this,
if the person you are working with isn't, if it's like what let's say you're going to facilitate them, and as you know, it just blows your mind because they are dealing with something that you need to deal with yourself.
Right.
Or maybe you have dealt with, so you're familiar, or you are fearful that it would happen in your life. So that person you're working with that you are actually facilitating is really working you. So it's equal, where to facilitate or to be facilitated is equally as powerful.
Yes, it is. I think also you have an app where you can do the work on an app.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I think that's it's $1.99 or 99 cents or something, but it's a good one.
Yeah, so you can, if you're struggling, if you're standing in line at the DMV and you're about ready to lose it, just pull out your phone, do the work, and away you go. Get free. So let me ask you this. So the 10-day school to work, is really, really practical. We really dig in, a lot of great exercises, really to break free and understand how the mind works and be able to turn around thoughts that lead to suffering. But your no body school is a whole nother enchilada, if you will. Can you, for the listener, kind of differentiate the two? Tell me what you like about the 10-day school and what you like about the no body experience.
Well, the school is meant to address every problem you have had, do have, or afraid you will have. And so very powerful. And you learn in that school how to end your suffering. And it's really in you by the end of that. And so you're good for you to be with you and to solve your own problems all the days of your life. And I like to say you're the one you've been waiting for, because you're the one with the problem. You're also the one with the solutions and the answers. So, and the no body. Oh my goodness. Literally no body. It's pure non-duality. And it's ultimately where we, it's for the brave and the bold. It's ultimately where the participants begin to understand or come to understand that mind is not object. Mm-hmm. Mind, you can't take it out. You can't touch it. You can't put it up on a shelf. You can do that with a body. Mm-hmm. But it is the mind that identifies as the body, and then just drives you nuts until you find a way out of that, the delusional thinking that I am this, that I believe myself to be, and that other people are who I believe them to be. It's a dramatic fallacy for those of us that understand how to question what we're believing.
Are you familiar with Jill Bolte Taylor, she wrote a book,
Yes.
My Stroke of Genius. She's
Yes.
in neuroscience, had the stroke.
Uh-huh.
So while she's having the stroke in the left brain, she loses her left brain, which is language and all that. And she became one with the universe, pure consciousness. And it's pretty much what we can experience in your no body school, is what you're teaching us. There is no duality. That's the illusion. And we are all within everything. We are all that.
Well, hopefully, we all can have that experience in the no body that Jill was describing, and come to understand what that is without being stroked or I just think, we have a right to free. It's a freedom is our birthright.
Right.
Jill was just in town, and we've been texting and everything. She is just so
amazing.
Brilliant.
So powerful. Wow. So let me ask you this. Let's say I'm just hearing about you for the first time today. I'm just being exposed to your work. Would you encourage me or discourage me to do the no body first, or should I wait and do the 10-day school and then the no body?
I would encourage people to do the school for the work first.
Okay. That's what I thought you would say.
Yeah.
That's what I would encourage.
That no body is it's extreme, and it is what the ego is terrified of. And in that kind of tear, I think, when it gets so close to what the ego fears, I think that the school for the work prepares us to sit in the other. And Michael, I'm finding people who have never done anything come to the no body. It blows their mind in a very beautiful way. And so I really can't speak to it other than answer your question, which I would say the school for the work. The mundane.
Right.
The mundane. Why skip any part of life?
Yeah. Right.
Either remembered or anticipated.
I would say to someone considering the no body, which you have one coming up in April in Ojai.
Yeah.
I would say if anybody can grasp Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, and understand consciousness, then the mind body be perfect for you. But you have to have some sort of understanding of consciousness and who we really are, which is not the body and not the thoughts and all that BS. Right? If you grasp that, I think you could really benefit from that course.
The mind would say, I am Byron Katie. I am talking to my friend Michael. I am 76 years old. I am. And if we question that, identity begins to fall away. And we are very open to, it's an ultimate freedom, the not I. Yeah. The not I. And it's a kinder world because there's no one to harm, no one to hurt. There's no motives cease to be necessary. But when it comes to doing good, whatever that means to the beholder, that never goes away because it's our nature, compassion and kindness and being true to ourselves is, that is a kinder life. That's a kinder life.
Yeah, perfect. What's better than that? And I see you have a new thing on your website where it's like At Home with Katie. It's like a 2-hour thing that you're going to do in April as well. What's that about?
At Home with Byron Katie. It's a thing I do at the center. I try to do it every month if I'm not traveling. We do. And it's 2 hours, and I just kind of leave my house, come down to this beautiful little center for the work, and people show up, and we do the work. And also, it's online, and so it's just 2 hours of hanging out with people in Ojai, and really people come from everywhere in the world to just sit in that little sweet 2 hours and hang out in Ojai.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to check that out. My favorite t-shirt says, "Who would you be without your story?" And so you talk a lot about that. And one of my favorite exercises in the 10-day school was you say, take your worst moment and write out the story. So I got like 3 pages, right? Now you say, take out any adjectives, any hyperbole, any BS. Okay, now I'm down to 1 page. And then you say, take out anything that is self-serving or not fully accurate. Now you're down to a paragraph. And then
anything untrue or exaggerated.
Yeah,
correct.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you start looking at your life like that, you really see how full of BS we are with our stories.
We are full of it. Oh my goodness. And how beautiful that you and I have the privilege of laughing at it now.
Exactly.
Not as though we're not grateful for life as we've experienced it, no matter how much suffering we were in, because it just leaves us in the state of joy that we were just believing our thoughts.
Right. And when we're free of that, I find, and I know you do, but life just kind of takes us where we need to go. It's like a lazy river. Instead of this fighting it and resisting, now we're free to peacefully exist and create something beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, we are. Yes, no, there's nothing to stop us. I always wanted to do kind things, but I had to learn how to get out of bed first.
Yeah.
And brush my teeth. And that was a mountain I didn't think I could ever climb successfully. And today, no cavities.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this time with Byron Katie as much as I have, and I hope you learn to fall in love with her as much as I love her, because she's genuine, she's legit, she's brilliant, but her work that found her is so powerful to ending a suffering in our life and making life a better place. And by the way, my sister's a school teacher, and they use your children's book all the time in their classroom. So congratulations on that. So
that tiger.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So ladies and gentlemen, on Monday, I'm going to be interviewing Marianne Williamson, who's running for president, besides being a great spiritual author, teacher. So she'll be on Monday, 10 a.m. live on Transformation Talk Radio, and also up in the Seattle stations. And of course, we'll archive it for you. And so in closing, Katie, I can't tell you how grateful I am for you to take the time out today and share your story and your life and your gifts with our listeners today.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Thank you. It's so much fun hanging out with you again.
I love it. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to next time. In the meantime, go out there and make this the best day of your life.
You've been listening to Mike Murphy, unfiltered, unfettered, unflinching, unafraid, on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Thanks for tuning in, and don't miss the next Unfiltered show next Thursday from noon to 2 Pacific Time on TransformationTalkRadio.com, as Mike Murphy and a cast of powerful guests strip away the veil of limitation using the groundbreaking practices of the creation frequency. Tune in to unleash the power of your mind. Open the immense energy of the heart to manifest an awesome life filled with true health, wealth, confidence, gratitude, and joy. Unfiltered truth, unfiltered frequency, unfiltered possibilities on Mike Murphy Unfiltered Radio. For more information on Mike and his work, visit MikeMurphyUnfiltered.com.